Welcome to the What Now podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Powers. Follow along as I figure out how to go from feeling lost and at a crossroads in my life to hopefully, eventually, being found. If you have ever felt like you needed a change or pivoting from your current experience is necessary, but you just don't know how, join me. Wanderers are always welcome. Hey everyone, welcome back to What Now, podcast for Lost and Found. This is your host, Amanda. Welcome back from the hiatus, unintentional hiatus. I know it's been over 3 weeks at this point, and that's all on me. I've been traveling and I've been out and I've just been kind of distracted and still kind of recovering creatively, and I haven't had as much inspiration. And I was kind of fighting some feelings of being like, well, if I've got nothing to say right now, why should I even do an episode? I don't want to talk about nothing, but then again, this is my own show. I can talk about whatever I want. So I've been in my head a little bit, which I know I've kind of touched on the last few episodes. I know, Dirks, I know. He's crying. He's sitting under my desk right now because it's 4:30 and he wants to go outside and play with his friends, but I have to take care of myself, and this is important to me, and he'll live. So I think the last episode came out on September 11th, and that episode was very well received. I mostly got some direct messages about that, but I do really appreciate anybody and everyone that has gone and listened to that episode and let me know how you felt and what you liked or didn't like about it. And I super appreciate it. So anybody that's out there listening that has not had the chance to leave a 5-star review or leave, reviews and comments. You can do comments on each episode directly on Spotify, and you can leave the 5-star reviews with comments on Apple. So that's exciting. I can also respond back to you directly on the Spotify. So depending on where you're listening, I will do my best to either hit you up on Spotify or Apple, or if you want to DM me at Podcast for the Lost on Instagram and TikTok, I can talk to you there as well. So shout out to all of y'all for helping me out and spreading the word about the show and letting me know what you love. This episode, I think we're at 46, 47-ish. This episode is just going to be me catching you up. I have written outlines for 3 more episodes that will be coming, but they have to be recorded, and I don't want to spend as much time during those episodes doing recaps if I can just do a recap right now. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. So if you've missed me, listen to this episode. If you don't give a shit and you just want to move on to the topics at hand for the Lost and Found, listen to the next 3, which will be released in the next couple of weeks. Let's see. I released episode 45 on September 11th, and then the following week my mom came in town. I'm staring at my calendar. Yep. I was supposed to go to a baby shower, but that ended up getting canceled. So then spent that weekend just kind of prepping for the following week with work and another friend's wedding. My friend Autumn and was getting married. I've talked about her before a couple episodes back when she came to visit in April for her bachelorette in Nashville. So she got married at the end of September here. And before that, I flew in a day early with our friend Christina, and we went to Niagara Falls, which I have never been to before. I've never been to Western New York area at all, actually. So that was actually kind of fun to explore and get to see that part of the country and get to see one of the wonders of the world and learn about the history of that area and the Native American tribes and groups that used to live there and what they did on the land first before, us white people came in and messed it all up. And so I learned a lot about that state park, and we stayed on the American side of it. We did not get to go to the Canadian side, but I feel like we got a lot out of it. There is a lot of stuff that's there that feels very touristy and kitschy, but the guide that we had was really great because he told you stories about the different businesses that had been there and the history of all the different bridges and the engineers and the builders that had lived in that space and the businesses that had come and gone during, the height of production down there, and how people have actually changed their minds from destroying the waterfall to preserving it, and what that process was like to get people to get on board. So it was fun. And of course, I had the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, like, this is what it felt like to be on that episode of The Office when Jim and Pam got married, and everybody from the office went on the boat and hung out, and they got married on it, on the Maid of the Mist boat. But it was just cute. It was a fun time to just kind of hang out with Christina one-on-one as well, and prep for the wedding, and kind of discuss, like, mutual love and respect for Autumn and her future husband. But we left Niagara Falls, flew up on that Thursday night, drove Christina and I to the hotel, got up Friday morning, went on the tour, got done with the tours, but then we drove straight to Autumn's rehearsal dinner from there. And I'm gonna butcher this, Canandaigua area, the Finger Lakes area. That's where she had the rehearsal dinner. Was at the same property where the wedding was going to occur. It was a maple syrup farm. So there was it was a huge tree farm up in the hills, and the guy that ran the maple syrup shack, little factory, if you will, where he, I guess, distills the syrup and takes it out of the trees and gets it ready to be jarred, and then sent it somewhere else for it to be sold and stuff. But it was very cool. So it was a maple sugar shack farm, maple tree farm, where she got married. It was super beautiful. Some of the trees had started to change, so it looked very quintessential fall in New York there. And it was, just cold enough to where you felt like you were going to be fine. And it was really nice. So we hung out with Autumn and her husband for a little bit, had the rehearsal dinner, helped her mom and her mother-in-law finish up some last minute, decorations and changes and prep for the following day. And then we went back to Autumn's house and did kind of like just the adult sleepover. Everybody had like either sleeping bags or dragged their sheets and the blow-up mattresses all in the living room and stuff together, and hung out and chatted and watched Jeopardy and chilled for a bit together, and then all went to bed. And then the next morning, Autumn got up and went to get her hair done. And I guess the close friends, they did not do bridal parties, so you just ish her her bridesmaids, for lack of a better term, all hung out together at Autumn and her husband's house. And the house was extremely cool. He built the house himself, actually. So family property land. He shares one half of the land is all his, and then the other half of the land, his brother and his wife have with their kids. And so they have, I guess, they work together on like a goat farm and have chickens. And her Autumn's now sister-in-law makes soaps, lotions, lip balms, various things with the goat's milk, and sells those. And the kids right now are young enough, and they do homeschooling and go to forestry and farming camp. So school. So they go spend half the day with doing homeschool, and the other half of the day they learn about the land and how to cultivate it, and what it's like to run a farm and how to live off the land. And so the kids were very interesting, because they were teaching us about all kinds of things that I would have known literally nothing about, being a city kid. So it was just fun and cute to like see them point things out and name things and tell you the science behind how that grows and where did that come from, or how old that animal is and how they know that, and etc. So it was really sweet to see them interact. And it's always heartwarming to see your own friends interact either with their own kids or talk about having kids. And it was just nice to finally put a bunch of names to faces and spend time with Autumn's family. So after Autumn got back, we all hung out for a little bit longer and did a tour of the farm itself and walked around. And then Autumn left to go get dressed and do photos at the venue. And our mutual friend, Claire, they came with Christina and I, and we all went to a neighboring smaller town, because we still had time to kill, to get brunch, and got some sandwiches and coffees and waffles there, and it was delicious. And we're just driving through all these super winding roads in between farms, and then you get to like a tiny quaint town that looks like the set of Gilmore Girls, and you're just kind of like taken out of body a little bit, because I haven't felt like that since I did an internship while I was at Ole Miss long time ago. for a vice president of federal communications at a consulting firm that was based in Alexandria, Virginia, but that vice president at the time lived in a more rural area of Maryland. And so I worked for her for that internship, and that's kind of what it felt like to be back there again, to see just nothing but fields and fields of crops for a while, and you're on a 2-lane road and it's just giant trucks passing you or tractors passing you. And then occasionally you'll go into smaller towns and walk around, and then there's small pockets of like Amish communities and stuff too. So it was very, very different from Nashville. It was quite, I won't say an escape, but there were times on the trip where I was reminded, even if it was a fleeting moment, I'm reminded how small I am in the world, how small we all are, and how much just vast space and how big the United States is, and just how the conglomerate melting pot of everyone that lives here and all the stuff that, goes on in the country every single day. Like, it's really easy to get, I think, self-absorbed in your own life. Society here teaches us to be hyper independent all the time and, hyper individual focused. You pull yourself by your bootstraps, you start your own business, you are in charge of your career, you are in charge of your education, you are in charge of making decisions about your life, blah, 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 blah. So you think singularly. Like, I only want to vote on things that are affecting my life, not the lives of my community members or my friends or family or whatever. And the truth is, the country's massive. There's so many different people and religions and cultures and backgrounds that are here. And hello? Are you joining us? Are you waking up? There's just so much, so much going on in the world all the time. And so it's just amazing to me that I don't know, I probably sound like a rambling idiot now, but the fact that I can live in a dimension where my friend who used to be gung-ho about, I'm moving to New York, I'm staying in New York, I'm living in New York after FEMA Corps, I'm going to do the whole, I'm becoming Sex in the City, I'm going to make my way. If you can make your way in New York, you can make your way anywhere or whatever it is. And she, gets hit with the same pandemic I do, gets to transfer her job to being full-time telework, same way I eventually did. And now she's a farm girl. Like, Autumn showed us her brand new Tacoma. She bought a new truck recently and it looks great. And she's like, yeah, Tacoma or die, baby. Like, it was so funny to see the evolution of a friend of yours, over the last 11 years now. And it just filled my heart with joy, and also simultaneously reminded me how small I am in this world. It was a lot of fun, and I had a really good time. And then after the wedding, I came back for a couple of days and worked, and then I had to go pick up Dirks because he was with my parents for that week while I was gone. And I brought him home just in time before the Hurricane Helene aftermath kind of hit Nashville. Luckily, where we're located in the majority Middle Tennessee, we mostly just had a lot of rain and wind. We did not have the flooding damage or the mudslide damage that has been occurring in Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. I, at first, was a little bit worried because my brother and his wife at the time, the first few days, they had no power and they were completely flooded out. Like, their house is on a mountainside, so they were elevated up enough, but to get to their driveway that starts at the base of the mountain, you have to cross a few bridges, which go over some creeks that are normally not super overflowing. But you cannot, because the creeks and the water lines are protected, you can't add asphalt or make a paved road on that particular main drag. It has to be gravel, or at least that's what the neighborhood has been doing for a long time to help protect the water quality. And so when major floods or major rains happen, that it's not uncommon for those bridges to get covered or challenged and have erosion happen from the gravel road. So when the flooding happened in North Carolina, when the dams failed, there was a few days straight of just pure rain, and then the dams failed. And when that happened, a bunch of mud just took over a lot of rural Tennessee and rural North Carolina are on the borders there. So there are a lot of really small towns scattered throughout that border region that have just been completely devastated and put under. People have lost their homes and their farms, their businesses, their livelihoods, their families, their friends. And it's the last couple of days in the aftermath, it was hard to get in contact with my brother and his wife. Luckily, they were eventually able to get out and able to get to work, or at least go to Jackson's work, so that way they could use Wi-Fi to charge to do their jobs and to charge their devices. And my parents were able to eventually give them a couple of days in the aftermath, were able to find a route from their hometown to Jackson's hometown and get them a generator and some supplies to just kind of get them settled up for the next few days until the city can turn power back on. But it's been really, really devastating, and it's been really, really upsetting. And of course, because the internet's the worst, there's a bunch of conspiracy theories going around, and there's a bunch of weird blogs and posts and chaos happening on the internet and on Instagram and TikTok about all the stories that are coming out, and you don't know what's real and what's not real, and what is the government actually doing versus not doing, what's going on. And it's been really, really devastating. But I do consider myself and my family very lucky that we ended up not having as many problems as some other people in these communities. But it's very heavy, and I can imagine it was extremely scary for my brother and his wife, and frustrating and worrisome, of course, trying to live through a power outage like that and to watch your community get messed up. Nobody imagines they go to sleep at night and then the next morning their entire town's covered under mud and water, right? Like, it's just absolutely surreal. And I know we do a lot of the marketing for the Army National Guard, so it's been interesting to listen in on certain meetings with the client and like learn about how the Guard is responding and what they're waiting on, and the process for them to get deployed to go out and help and run rescue missions and flight missions and supplies missions. And it's been intense. But I think overall, a lot of the communities are working nonstop to take care of each other and help each other out and bring supplies to those affected regions. And I will do what I can to see if I can find links for progress or anything like that. It will not be an exhaustive list. There's going to be tons depending on which region you're interested in helping or where you live and what you're looking for, but I'll see what I can do to find some resource links and attach that to the show notes in case anybody wants to review that and find a way to donate. I do know that if you don't live there and you're not from that area, no one is encouraging additional bodies. Like, nobody's encouraging additional people to show up, just because it's still really dangerous right now. A lot of roads are still closed or damaged, so you can't drive on them, and Google is not up to date yet on where bridges have been eviscerated. So if you try and drive and you don't know where you're going or what you're doing, and you end up becoming a problem, it's kind of difficult, because then you divert the resources that are dedicated to helping find the locals and helping them get rescued to finding the volunteers. And so I know it can get kind of messy, but I will do what I can to find proper resources in case there's anybody listening that would like to donate their time or send supplies somewhere and get that out there. Luckily, my family's all right. And let's see. So I get back from that. The hurricane causes its damage, and makes its way through the town and the country. And the following Sunday was my friend Lindsay's birthday, and I had not seen her in a while. And so I said, reached out to her, and I invited her to go see Heather McMahon with me. Heather McMahon is a comedian. I absolutely loved her. I've talked about her a couple of times on the show. If you follow me at all on Instagram and TikTok, you'll know that I am obsessed with her. I love her. I think she's hilarious. I don't know if Absolutely Not Productions is hiring, but if they ever do, I am absolutely going to, I'm saying absolutely too much, I will throw my hat in the ring. I have made jokes before that if they ever have applications for being a surrogate, I will absolutely be their surrogate. I think it would be hilarious. I would love nothing more than to give her the baby of her dreams, which I know sounds weird, but it's just, she's one of those people where you can see that she truly is a star. She is a real talent, and she is out there doing nothing but living in her purpose. And for someone like me who has lost their purpose, you can see it shine through somebody. Like when they are truly living the life that they are meant to live, it's enthralling and immersive, and it's really hard to not appreciate what they're radiating, right? Like you can just tell when somebody is doing that, when they're truly living their purpose and they're happy doing whatever it is that they love. And she is that. Her doing comedy, her being herself on stage with a microphone, whatever, is to bring joy to others. And it's so clear. And for someone like me that's trying to figure out how to be that way too, how to live in my own purpose, how to find whatever it is that I am actually supposed to be doing on this earth, I want to surround myself with people that do have that. So that's why I kind of keep using the same examples for quotes. It's why I keep referencing previous episodes and interviews. It's because these are people that I admire that I have noticed are living in their element, and I admire that, and I want to mimic that in whatever version is accurate for me, whatever version is most authentic and truthful for me. So I want to find a way to be able to do that. And so Heather McMahon is one of those people. Plus, she went to Ole Miss, so of course I gotta support an Ole Miss girl whenever I can. But I took my friend Lindsay. Lindsay is super sweet. We were high school friends, and she moved back to Nashville with her husband several years ago, but they have a sweet little girl, and I haven't been able to see her much because she finished her master's in nursing, and she's been busy being a mom and a nurse and a wife and a extreme athlete. She did a triathlon recently, and she's a CrossFitter, and God only knows, so I can't keep up with her, but I found time to snag her and steal her out of the house and take her to a comedy show with me, and she ended up really loving it, and I'm so glad we got to do that and have some one-on-one time. And I was just proud of us for getting dressed and actually going through with it and doing a real girls' night out and making it out of the group chat finally. So I really hope that she loved that and that she ended up having a good birthday that day. I have also been back and forth with a new guest. I have had it on my bucket list for a long time to meet a few more people that, I have like a running dream guest list, and I've had a few people on there, and for whatever reason, the serendipitousness of life, I've been able to make introductions. And so I'm hoping that in the next few weeks, I can flourish those relationships and, learn from them, and hopefully, if they're comfortable with it, bring them on the show. I think these future guests that I'm going to have will have a really interesting story to share with you, and I'm really looking forward to setting that up and seeing where it goes, and honestly, just making more adult friends. I don't know if it's hard for y'all, but meeting new people in your 30s is so weird. Like, unless you're dating people, like you're actively going on dates for a purpose. So when you participate in those types of meetings, quote unquote meetings, you're aware of what the end goal is, versus if I tried to make a friend, like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, just walk up to a woman in the middle of a grocery store, or I'm trying to think about the places I go. The dog park, the grocery store, and the gym. That's where I go. Any other woman that's hanging out in there, they're there with their partners or their kids or whatever. Like, I'm not going out to clubs and bars all the time. I'm not traveling to New York or LA. I'm not on airplanes. I'm not hanging out in... You would think Nashville's a dense place, and it is to a certain extent, but like, I don't have extra money like that. All my extra money right now is going to paying for these huge Antarctica trip at the end of the year with some friends, and I ain't got no spares, so I don't go out that often. Needless to say, I think these new guests, it'll be really cool if they come on the show, but at the least, I'm really excited to see just adult friendships flourish, because it's so friggin' hard. That could be a whole episode in and of itself. I'm sure there's tons of podcast episodes out there that talk about how to make friends in your 30s, and is it even possible? Is it reasonable? Do you even want to do it? How do you do it? And how do you do it without being creepy? Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But that's supposed to be coming up in another few days, ideally next week. So we shall see. But we are also bringing back our good friend Judah Landau. He and I did an interview earlier this year and talked a bit about his background in being a personal trainer and how he got into bodybuilding and his mentality when he's competing and just how to, love and respect the sport and what inspires you and things like that. He has just finished up 2 more competitions for the end of the year, and he did finally get his pro card. And so I thought it would be great for him to come back onto the show and kind of talk to us a little bit about, we're about to hit the holidays, diet and nutrition and how to stay balanced with that. Plus, he just finished 2 shows. And so if he's done for the end of the year, learning how to recomp your body when you're out of competition season and how to rebuild or recover back without destroying your metabolism or gaining too much fat back too quickly or hurting yourself as well. Because when you lower your body fat to such a strict degree, you can injure, it puts so much stress on your joints and your tendons and ligaments. I thought it would be great for him to come back. I found a couple of TikToks that were posted by female bodybuilders, and they talked a bit about like the mental struggle after a show, you work so hard to create this dream body and this competitive edge. And then in the off season, you have to watch your body bounce, quote unquote, bounce and back into a more stable state and back into maintenance. And when you go from looking at such a lean, competitive, quote unquote, ideal body and then go back into a maintenance phase, it can mess with you. And so I thought it would be good to kind of cover body dysmorphia and body issues with him and learn about his most recent process and what he's working on for 2025 and give him the opportunity to have a bit of a platform for anybody that would be interested in doing online training and stuff with him. So Judah's coming back. I think I'm supposed to meet with him Saturday, so that'll be recorded and split up. Depending on how much we talk about, I think his episode might end up being a 2-parter. So we'll see, but I'm going to try and keep this just regular and short and sweet here. I feel like I'm slowly coming back into myself. When I wrote out those 3 outlines for shows, I started to feel better. Like, okay, I'm getting some inspiration. I don't feel so dead inside, or at least so uninspired lately. I think it's not that I feel dead, it's that I feel uninspired. And I think that was one reason why I was okay with pushing back on the show and just not feeling like I felt bad that I was skipping the weeks, but not bad enough to go home and sit down after work and actually sit and record and be like, okay, we're doing this. We're doing XYZ. Because I didn't. And there was leading up to it, for whatever reason, July, August, September, those 3 months now, I was putting so much pressure on myself to get stuff out and burn and churn. And when my media booker ended up switching career focuses, I didn't have a booker anymore. So I wasn't scheduling other guests as often. And so when a lot more pressure was put back onto me, which makes sense, it's my show, it's my production, the pressure should always be on me, but the self-induced pressure that I was putting on myself because nobody else was making these expectations. Like, I don't have a production company. I'm not beholden to a media agency of any kind. So it's not like I'm a writer where the editor groups and the publishing groups are like, hey, you've got a 6-month deadline to give us this much content. Like, I don't have that. I don't have a contract. So I'm not actually following anyone's schedule. And so the self-induced pressure to follow a specific schedule, even though I told myself, like, you're going to do 1 a week for a year. Whoops. Guess what I didn't do? Exactly 1. I missed, I guess, probably now a total of 5-ish, because October 14th is the podcast's anniversary. But I was putting so much pressure on myself lately that it started to deplete the joy out of the project. And that depleted joy left me with no inspiration. And so with no inspiration, I felt like I had nothing to say. And when I felt like I had nothing to say, I felt like I wasn't contributing anything that was worthwhile, that no one would want to listen to, which is just silly. And this project is not meant to serve anyone else really right now other than myself. And so I had to tell myself, you know what, sometimes you do need a mental break to come up with new ideas. That's why some podcast shows have seasons and they don't do it on a day-to-day basis every single day. Some people can. It's their full-time job. They can burn and churn episodes and get them out there every single day. Sarah Fraser, that's what she does with her show. It's every single day. She does the pop culture recaps and she can burn and churn it and is making 6 figures and doing great on her own with her sponsorships. And that's incredible. And she's used to that because she's been a part of the industry for a long time. But for somebody like me, where I'm doing project management all day, management and copywriting and editing and etc. all day for my full-time job. There are more days than not where by the end of the day, mentally, I'm just I'm finished. So trying to come up with something that's additionally creative doesn't always happen. And so lately I've just been pushing it off, and quite honestly got comfortable with pushing it off. And I'm sorry about that. For anybody that was relying on the episodes or enjoyed having the weekly updates, I am sorry. That definitely was not me trying to be dismissive of my supporters, but just mentally I wasn't there. Mentally I wasn't able to show up. And I think right now I just need to be consistent. I just need to be ready to push the resistance when it shows up and keep showing up for myself when I can, and being honest when I'm not able to show up, and understand why are we not showing up? What's the problem really? So that's really it. That's what's been going on. But we do a small update for the new logos and the graphics. Those are coming together. I had a meeting today with the graphic designer, and we went over the final logos, and she showed me some example photos of the photography. So we are moving forward with some photos and the social media templates. So she's doing a great job helping me with the branding and getting the branding kit all set up inside of Canva, and praise be, because I'm an idiot and I am not a graphic designer. So the fact that she's giving me somewhere to, a jumping off point, I'm extremely grateful. I'm eternally grateful. I think it's going to look really good. I think it'll be so nice to have a more cohesive branding and messaging behind the show. But that's coming in the next month or so. She also works full-time somewhere else, so she's doing me a solid favor with this. So I know I've been talking about it for a few months, but it's slowly coming out. It's not fully ready, but it is slowly coming out. And so it's been nice having that third party and that outsider's perspective, and to see someone else get so excited for you about something when I've been feeling really low about it, and to get her emails with her updates, and to see the excitement in her and hear it in her voice when she's talking about it with me. It gives me a renewed sense of, someone believes in this. Someone believes in supporting me and my plan, even if they're not a part of it day to day. But the fact that she would take my requests seriously and put in genuine work for it, it's really nice. It makes me emotional sometimes to think about this crazy dream that I started in my head a year ago is slowly coming together piece by piece, line by line, episode by episode. We're in a better place. We're pulling ourselves out of that weird low spot that we had over the last month. But that's kind of what's been going on lately. I wanted to make sure that I updated you guys, so that way the next two episodes that I record are just kind of straight, opener, straight into the topic for the day. But hey, Dirks, I gotta go. I gotta let him out. I gotta walk my dog. Gotta let him go play with some friends if we can find them. And then maybe do a Peloton ride. Maybe get my act together. I don't know. We're gonna see. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Love you, mean it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review. Let me know what you think about the show. Share it with a friend, share it with your family. You don't have to necessarily share this episode because this was just a catch-up piece, but please, 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 anybody that you think might benefit from this, anybody that you think is going through a tough time emotionally, or they're in a transition period, or they're watching their friends transition into new parts of stages of life, and you feel like you're not at that stage yet, and you want to know why you're weird, or why you're out of place, or why is it taking you so long. Same, sis. Same, bruh. I would love to know why the story I told myself for decades is no longer the real story, and you're kind of okay, well, what's the truth? I don't know, but I think my haphazard episodes might be helpful for them. So if you're enjoying it and you like the show, please, please, please tag us in your social media. Send me some recs, send me some 5-star reviews. Let me know what you think of the show. Share it with your friends and family. Let us know if you end up getting your, I saw an influencer mention the other day that we're about to hit Spotify Wraps season, the time of year when everybody posts what it is they've been listening to for the last 11 months and no one asked. Well, if you've been listening to the show, please tag us. We would love to repost you on our feeds as well if you've been listening to the show and supporting the show. But you can always like, subscribe, leave a review, reach out to me at askwhatnowpodcast@gmail.com. I'm amanda.k.powers on Instagram, and we are Podcast for the Loss on Instagram and TikTok. All the words separated by a period. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you guys tonight. But have a wonderful day, evening, weekend, whenever it is that you're listening, and stay safe out there. Remember to show yourself grace and keep showing up. Just remember, wanderers are always welcome.